Moving on to the next part of our discussion on optics, we have image formation. An image is basically an optical copy of an object. Images may be formed when reflected light or refracted light intersect. This optical copy is produced by reflected light intersecting at a particular point. At that point of intersection, there's a possibility of image being formed. The same goes for refracted light. Refracted light intersecting may produce an optical copy. At that point of intersection, you may have image formation. We're all familiar, for example, with what a mirror is. Almost all of us, hopefully all of us, have seen what a mirror is, say a bathroom mirror. When you look inside a mirror, you see your reflection. You see yourself inside the mirror. What you are actually seeing is an image of yourself, an optical copy of yourself produced by the mirror. Now, there are two types of images formed when reflected light or refracted light intersect. You have real image and you have virtual image. When an image is formed using actual reflected light or actual refracted light that intersect, the image formed is referred to as a real image. On the other hand, when there is an image formed, but at the location of the image, there is no reflected light or refracted light intersecting at that location. And yet, at that location, you still have image formation. The image thus formed in the absence of actual reflected light or actual refracted light intersecting at the location of the image. The image thus formed is referred to as a virtual image. For example, say you have a mirror, you have an object placed in front of the mirror. So, in front of the mirror, left side, behind the mirror or inside the mirror, right side of the mirror, or at least of the figure. You have an object placed in front of the mirror. As far as optics is concerned, we can consider or we may consider the object to be a light source. Each point on the object may be considered as a light source. Each point of the object will be considered as a meeting light. Light will travel in all directions from the point. So say this point on the image, say the top point of the image, consider that as a light source. It will produce light. It will emit light. The light will travel in all directions. One light ray will strike the mirror and be reflected, say, to our eyes, and we see something. That's how we see things. Light from the object will reach our eyes. Thus, we are able to see the object. So, the reflected light will reach our eye. We will see an image formed by that reflected light, if there is any image formed by that reflected light. Another ray of light coming from the same point will strike the mirror and reflect or bounce off the mirror. You have reflected light, and that reflected light also reaches our eyes, and we see something. That something is, of course, image formed by the reflected light. But note, image is formed when reflected light intersect. There's no intersection of reflected light at this location. Thus, no image will be formed at this location. If we trace back the reflected light, the traced back lines will intersect at this location, meaning an image will be formed at this location. You have intersection of reflected light. Reflected light in parentheses because the actual reflected light is located here, and yet you have intersection of lines at this location, meaning you have image formation here. You have image formation at this area or location, and yet no actual reflected light. Reflected light is located here in front of the mirror, and yet the image formed is behind the mirror or inside the mirror. That's what we see. We see the image of the object located here, behind or inside the mirror. You have an image formed where there is no actual reflected light intersecting at that location. The image formed is a virtual image. Image formed, but there are no actual reflected or refracted light formed intersecting at the location of the image. Virtual image. For there to be real image, the actual reflected light or refracted light must intersect. If there is intersection, say, of reflected light here, then you would have image formation here. The image formed here would be a real image. So please take note of the difference between real image and virtual image. Now, images may be formed using two types of optical devices. You have mirrors and you have lenses. Put simply, mirrors are optical devices that reflect light via a reflective surface. Thus, a mirror uses reflected light to form an image, whereas lenses are optical devices that allow light to pass through and refract it. A lens uses refracted light to form an image. You have mirrors and lenses. For a more complete picture on how light is reflected or refracted using mirrors and lenses, you might want to look into the concept of reflection and refraction of light via a curved or spherical interface or surface. And that's it for now. That's it for our discussion on image formation, at least generally speaking. We'll look more into image formation when we cover mirrors and lenses. In the next video, we'll take a look at image formation using mirrors. So again, that's it for now, and thank you for watching.